guest has found on the U.S. $1 bill some mysterious things that most people, they look at and they just ignore. Have you ever noticed the eye on the dollar bill? Have you ever noticed the pyramid on the dollar bill? Have you ever noticed a Latin phrase on the dollar bill? My guest has evidence that this is welcoming in code, the Antichrist. You know, my guest, Tom Horn, says something began in the year 2012 that will reach its apex in 2016. And he's going to talk about that. But tell me something I was not aware of, that the key founding fathers of our nation were not Christian, but were Masons.
That's absolutely right, Sid. In fact, as many as 44 of the 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence were Freemasons, and they were the Freemasons really of the European order, meaning that they were committed to building an occult form of a democracy that was based on what's called the Atlantean scheme. This was coming out of Europe. What Francis Bacon believed, he was the head of a secret society in Europe, very popular and very powerful, and they had wealthy people behind them. And they believed that there had been an original Atlantis. And Atlantis had been great because Atlantis had taken its orders from the gods of ancient history. And when they turned their backs on the gods, Atlantis crumbled. And so Francis Bacon's idea was, we will build a new occult democracy based on this Atlantean scheme in which we're basically going to take our marching orders from the spirits of these invisible deities.
Okay, how's this tie in with Masons?
Well, Freemasons in the United States early on were receiving funding. There was persons, there were people from Europe coming over here. They actually saw in the new continent the opportunity to develop a new world order that would be under essentially the influence of these ancient spirits that political realities in Europe was not going to allow them to establish over there. So this was basically fresh pickings.
Oh, okay. But what you're saying, though, is there's something evil about Masons. I've got relatives that are Masons. What are you saying?
Actually, I was a pastor for 25 years. I had Freemasons in my church on my board. So, but these were 32nd degree Freemasons who, they were part of a fraternity, and they didn't get into any of that other hocus pocus and occultism and whatever that was going on early on. However, Sid, when you get past the 32nd degree, when you go to 33rd degree Freemasonry, it becomes something entirely different.
Okay, what if someone was a 33rd degree Mason, what would they know that the others don't?
Well, for instance, I had a state senator ask me basically, he said, were you aware that at the inauguration of every United States president, that in Washington, D.C., an occult ritual is held to raise the spirit of Osiris from the underworld so that it can take its rightful place in every United States president? That absolutely blew me away. I thought,
this is within Masons?
That's within Masons. As a matter of fact, I went there to verify it myself. I took my wife, Nita, with me, but I wanted to know if that was a fact, because if that's true, that's an astonishing idea that an occult ritual such as that would be held only just a little way on 16th Street in Washington, D.C.
Who's the god of Masons?
Well, the god of the Freemasons, according to their own experts, Albert Pike, Mackey, the others, they call him the great architect of the universe, but they identify him as the god Osiris, as he was known to the Egyptians, and Apollo, as he was known to the Greeks. In fact, when you look at the Great Seal, what you see in the images are Egyptian symbols, but in the mottos, it's prophecies about Apollo.
And again, these false deities are another name for the Antichrist. Now, on the U.S. $1 bill, we have the Great Seal.
Right.
Tell me what's on there.
Well, what's on the Great Seal, especially the obverse side, the reverse side of the Great Seal, it's on every U.S. dollar. And it's a troubling thought, isn't it, to imagine that we carry on our person more often than we have the Word of God on our person, we carry on our person a prophecy about the coming of the Antichrist. Now, you have the symbol that is Egyptian. You have the mottos that are in Latin. The Anuet Coeptus is a Latin motto referring to the return of the god Jupiter, who will in the future take his rightful re-enthronement over the cosmos, and his son Apollo is in the Novus Ordo Seclorum. That is a prophecy from the Cumae Sibyl, the most powerful of all of the Apollinian priestesses, gave the prophecy from which Novus Ordo Seclorum is taken, in which she predicted that at the end of time, Apollo will return to reign upon the earth once again at the dawn of a new golden age.
Oh, or the Antichrist. Who put that on the seal? Who put it?
And the reason I say the Antichrist is because in more than one place in the New Testament, it actually identifies the spirit by name that will fill the Antichrist. Paul says in 2 Thessalonians 2:3, he will be the son of perdition. This is the Greek word apoleia, Apollo, Apollyon. In Revelation 17:8, the beast shall rise up out of the bottomless pit and enter into perdition, Apoleia, Apollyon, Apollo. In fact, in Greek literature, the god Apollo was known as both Apollyon and Apollo.
Who put that on the U.S. dollar? Who put it on our seal?
Well, it happened over a period of time. There was a man by the name of Thompson who was commissioned by the Freemasons to design the Great Seal.
No, but who authorized it? Who put it on there?
Oh, well, who put it on the $1 bill?
Yeah.
This was Franklin Roosevelt. And
Franklin Roosevelt?
Right.
Does science have the technology today to take the DNA of these false deities that are being prayed for within Masons to come to earth for a utopia who will be the Antichrist? Can they take the DNA from these false gods and put it in someone today and resurrect the Antichrist?